Hello, and welcome to Now You're Cooking with Gas. This video is about implementing a freeze debuff, which is based on applying chill over time, and when it builds up enough, the target becomes frozen for a few seconds. The way I will be accomplishing this with actors is by setting the custom time dilation. This is a value along with the global time dilation that affects how fast or slow an actor updates. So as usual, we're going to start with attributes. I will be adding two more attributes here, called Chilled and DeChill. The purpose of Chilled is to track how chilled the target is, and DeChill is a value which is essentially chill resistance. So one thing to note as I add yet another attribute is that we have quite a few in here. This is not always the best way to do this. Another method would be to create a base class for your attribute set, include these functions, which don't really change, and subclass that base class based on which attributes you want. The reason you might do that is that you might have a different set of attributes for players versus mobs or enemies or objects. When we created the destructible object, the only thing it really needs is health. I'm going to set the initial chill value to 0 and the DeChill value to 10. That 10 will represent how quickly chilled is being reduced per second. We want to ensure that chilled is clamped between 0 and 100. Add the usual rep stuff. And then in the enemy character, we want functionality to monitor when the chilled value changes. So as with the health and armor changed functions up there, we're going to make chill changed, which will be a blueprint called event, implementable event. And that's where we'll do most of our logic handling or reacting to chilled value. With that compiled, we can launch the editor and create some more gameplay effects. First off, we're going to create a chill debuff. GE debuff chill. Just going to duplicate that for a debuff DeChill. The chill debuff will be an instant modifier against chilled. And this we will use the same set by color setup we did for damage. I'm going to use the damage set by color. This is an infinite gameplay effect that just reduces the chilled value over time. We want a modifier based on the attribute. DeChill. And the coefficient will be -1. We also need to set a period. In this case, it'll be 1 time per second. If you wanted a gameplay effect like this that happens more often, you generally want this value and the coefficient here to be in sync. In that case, if you wanted it to update 5 times per second, you would set this to 0.2, and this one would be -0.2. All right, I'm going to create a new ability for this. I'm going to go into the base. In our make spec, I'm going to convert the gameplay effect class to a variable. Default will remain to be GE damage. I'll create a child of this. Call it FireAbility Chill. This will do 10 chill. It does not need a tag. The rate of fire will be put at 5. So this will be 50 chill per second. And we change the gameplay effect to chill. Oh, and we also want it to be full auto. And remove the ammo cost. For convenience, I'm also going to add a tiny little crosshair to the HUD. This will just be an image. In the center. And it'll just be 4x4. I'm also going to change the projectile to not have gravity. By setting the gravity scale to 0. In the enemy character, I'm going to add jump to the tick event so that it is just constantly jumping. I'm also going to print out the chilled value. Since this is happening every tick, I'm going to set the duration of the print to 0 and not print to log. And I forgot to set the weapon, or the GA in the character. So we'll change this one to FireAbility Chill. You can see the chill value going up. I also need to add the GE Debuff DeChill, that's a mouthful, to the enemy character. So we'll just add a new default effect, DeChill. And now when we run that, you see the value gets up to 100, and then it goes down 10 per second. To apply the actual chill time dilation, we add the event that we just created. The chill value is between 0 and 100, but the time dilation that we want to use is not. So what we use for that is map range. You can use clamped or unclamped. We'll use clamped in this case. The value coming in is the new value. Our range coming in is 0 to 100, and we want from 1 to 0.5. So at a full value of 100 or close to 100, the time dilation will be at half. Just double click that. So we can see the animation slows down as we get to 100. We let go, let it sit. When it gets back to 0, it's back at full speed. So now to freeze the character, there are a few things we need to do. First of all, we're going to create 2 more gameplay effects. One will be GE Debuff Freeze. We duplicate that and call this one Thaw. The freeze debuff will be a duration-based 4-second, and while it's running, it will grant the tag debuff.frozen. When the gameplay effect ends, we can use routine expiration effect class here to apply Thawed, or Thaw. To hook that up, we want to check in the enemy character again. I'm going to take this value. If it is greater than or equal to 100, we want to again set the time dilation. This case to 0. And then apply the gameplay effect, GE Debuff Freeze. So you can see that when it gets to 100, it stops. However, I'm still holding the button, I'm still hitting it, and it keeps going down. So the DeChill is still in effect. The way we prevent that is in the debuff DeChill. We add an ongoing tag requirement, and we add debuff frozen to the ignore section. What this effectively does is it disables this duration-based, and by duration I mean not instant, gameplay effect while the tag exists. So it stops for about 4 seconds. And then once the tag is removed, the debuff starts working again and starts reducing it. Now the other issue we have is if I just keep hitting it, what's happening is every time I hit it, it's at or above 100, and it's applying the freeze gameplay effect. So the other thing that I want is that when the freeze is done, the chilled value should reset to 0, and then the resistance, DeChill, should increase. So that is what the debuff Thaw is for. So when freeze ends, it will just add the debuff Thaw. This one will be instant. And all it's doing is setting chilled, override, back to 0. And then it is increasing the DeChill value by 10. So you can see the DeChill is applying at 10 per second. However, when we get up to 100, and then reapply some chill, it's going down by 20 per second. So as I was mentioning earlier, freeze is being applied when it gets up to 100, but then every time it gets hit again, it's applying freeze again. So what that does right now is that it stacks freeze multiple times, and then every time it ends, it's adding the Thaw GE. Each of those is increasing the DeChill by 10. So if we try again now, it will immediately be reset to 0. It's hard to see, but it's actually, I think it's going down by 4. Now it's getting up to 50 and going right back to 0. So the way to fix this is that when we are applying the chill, in application tag requirements, ignore tags, we can add the debuff. So what that means is that while the target is frozen, it can no longer be chilled. So no matter how much I hit it in this one period, when it ends, it'll now be at 20. And with this style of diminishing returns, you can still freeze the target, multiple times, but it takes longer to freeze every time. I hope you found this as cool as I did. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and you would like to see more, you know what to do. If you have suggestions on future content or abilities you would like to see, let me know down below.